If you don't believe that we're living in hell, just keep watching. We're gonna start with what seems like good news, and that is that just weeks ago, there's a nonprofit, Heal Palestine. It's an Ohio-based group that helps Palestinian families and children begin orchestrating what it called the largest single medical evacuation of injured children from Gaza to the US, taking injured and ill children from Gaza to the United States for care that they can't get in Gaza because basically every hospital has been destroyed by the IDF. And medical equipment and resources weren't going even before the genocide began. To date, the group says it evacuated 63 injured children for treatment, including 11 from age 6 to 15 who've flown to hospitals in 9 US cities this month. Many of the children had lost limbs during the conflict. They are expected to travel to Egypt to rejoin their families once their medical care is completed. So to be clear, they come here, they get the treatment that they need, and then they go back. They don't stay here. And it's important for me to point that out because if somebody utterly deranged, a demon wearing something that kind of looks like a human, were to decide that they don't want these kids to get that care, as evil as that would already be, imagine how much more evil it would be if they were to spread the lie that those kids are getting to stay here forever, which I guess would be a bad thing. That's also not true, but it didn't stop Laura Loomer, who started complaining about this limited number of kids who are coming thanks to the charity of a private organization. She complained about it and it's stopping. It's stopping now thanks to her. So Laura Loomer she transitioned very gradually from fighting with Marjorie Greene, calling her a harlot, talking about what her genitals look like, to then saying, hey, those kids, the kids that Israel blew the legs off of, no, they don't get to come here. I don't want them in America. And they listened in the Trump administration and they're not gonna be able to come. And Loomer said, I felt like this is something that needs attention. Under the Trump administration, they're actively importing Gazans into the US. Clearly, this is not what we voted for. We didn't vote on being like the shining city on the hill. We're not curing a kid. We're not saving a life. No, we let them die there. We assist in the genocide. That's evidently what they voted for. So if you ever declare MAGA to be xenophobic or racist or Islamophobic, it's not really you saying that, that's Laura Loomer saying that. She called this a national security threat, that the kids, the amputee kids, were a national security threat. Because never forget, MAGA is more terrified every waking moment than you've ever been in your life. And Marco Rubio listened and he's stopping the visas. And I just wanna show you one thing. This is a tweet from Steve Sosaby. He says, these are the kids that we bring for medical care. They cannot get back in Gaza. 4-year-old Adam lost his leg and parents in a bombing. And 2-year-old Cedra came for orthopedic surgery and will be fitted with artificial legs. He's actually the guy that founded that organization. And TDR, we kind of trade in dark realizations. Here's a dark realization for you. That guy who brings kids from a genocide to save their lives, you've never heard of him before. And after this segment, you're never gonna hear of him again. That hero, that angel, has no influence over the government or its policy. Laura Loomer does. She decides who has a job. She decides who gets visas based on the boiling, oily, toxic, poisonous bile that makes up everything inside of her skin. Based on hatred and fear and suspicion and jealousy, she has control for whatever reason. Because for some reason she has an audience, although I can't understand why a person would listen to her for even a second. I don't know, maybe because of whatever happened between her and Trump on those planes. I don't know why she has influence. But we've set up our society in a way that she decides who lives and dies, not people like that, charitable people who set up organizations to save kids' lives. JR, what do you think?
This is the weaponization of our stupidity and extreme fear. Exactly what this country was built on. The fear of the other, the dehumanization of the other, so much so that if after committing this kind of genocide on these folks, these babies are seen as a threat to these weak people's lives. They don't actually believe that. As you said, it's just the flow of hatred that runs through them. It's the entire makeup of their bodies. So again, this whole thing was set up before about how we allowed American children that we see as enough of another to be shot up in schools. And then our leaders go, we're not gonna do anything about it. Thoughts and prayers, F those kids. This has been set up for years. So if you can dehumanize people enough and see them as something that's a threat to you, you'll allow people like Laura Loomer to be the decision maker on things like this to be stopped. This is also the same party that was saying when they're denying people any kind of universal health care or general access to things that we all pay for with our taxes. When we've allowed them to say, yo, churches and charitable organizations should be the things that pay for people when they fall by the wayside or they fall on hard times. Remember that whole line from Republicans for years? Now when there's charitable organizations that do it, let's end that too, because what we don't want is charity. What we don't want is help for people who we've put in these situations. Children who's lost their limbs and they won't point out from doing what? Just trying to maybe get some scraps of food that these same people who are committing this genocide are waiting for them to stick their necks out enough so they can fire at them like target practice. These are the same people. I feel like people should start realizing that we're the evil country in this world. And if you see any other country doing this, what else would we call it? This is amazing, bro. Like, and if you don't say it, you're unpatriotic, you're un-American. You're damn right. If you say something like this is disastrous and is horrible and is evil, you're un-American, you are, because American is what this is. Apparently, the leadership in this country is all about this. Stopping charitable organizations from babies getting a chance after you've taken out their entire families and lineage. Bro, this is amazing.
Yeah, I just, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in supernatural stuff or whatever. So I guess on a certain level, I suppose I don't believe in evil as a force, but sometimes I don't know what other term to use. I thought that I had a good vocabulary. It's just evil. She's just one of the most evil people. And people in the chat are like, she doesn't have an official position in the administration. I didn't say that she did, but she does determine what happens in it. And that is indisputable at this point. Rubio's not even denying it, by the way, that this is a result of what she said. And by the way, back in 2017, she wrote a social media post cheering that 2,000 refugees drowned in the Mediterranean trying to flee the wars in the region. She cheered 2,000 deaths. And I just think about the people who post memes about Luigi Mangione and how they're like, tut. How could you post a meme? She cheered 2,000 people, men, women, the elderly, children, drowning to death while trying to flee violence that in many ways America has contributed to for literally decades. And she has influence, she has power in our government. I don't know how a society lasts when it has fallen to these base, cruel, dark levels. I don't know.